Hello. So I figure it's probably time that I actually do something like this. It's been 4.5 years and I've never really done a proper introduction video. Um, Hello. My name is Jonathan Tony, that's my legal name. I go by several names depending on who you are and where I know you from and when I met you and at what point in life I was at that time. Um, Most people who know me just call me Tony. On Discord, I go by Hammerhead Actual, and on X/Twitter, I go by Rocket Powered Frontiersman. Um, I live in the United States. I actually live in like what they call the Heartland. Um, it's basically the sort of interior of the United States. I traveled up and down the Mississippi most of my life because I've got family in Ohio and family in Arkansas, which is where I live now. I live in Arkansas. Um, so I've been in and out of Arkansas and Ohio and up and down the Mississippi my whole life. My game development journey started back in 2000. I got my hands on the StarCraft campaign editor because, like many other developers, my first real experience with games was with Blizzard. I had played other games, but Blizzard's StarCraft was a huge, it had a major impact on me, especially with regards to the StarEdit campaign editor, which would let you make your own maps and do all sorts of other crazy stuff. Excuse me. I then moved into RPG Maker 2003 and played around on Cobra's Realm a little bit, if anybody knows what that is. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. And since then, I've tried to keep up the hobby as much as I can, but unfortunately, I haven't always been able to engage with it. I've had to work other jobs, I've traveled a lot, I've had a few points in my life where I've been basically next to homeless because I come from a family that is considered white trash and didn't always have a whole lot of money. And yeah, like to give you an example, my first job out of my mom's house, I dropped out of high school at 18 and moved out, and I shoveled horse manure and mowed grass in exchange for a bed to sleep on, food to eat, and a pack of cigarettes a week. That was my first job out of my parents' house. I did eventually join the military. I spent 6 years in the United States Army as an infantryman, 2 years mechanized, 4 years recon. I've been in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I may or may not have been in Pakistan, but that's classified, kind of. I don't even know if I was there. They wouldn't actually tell us where we were. After getting out of the military, I went to school for animation and game design, something I always wanted to do. I figured if I'm going to go to school, use my VA benefits, I'm going to go learn something that I want to learn. And after graduating, I got a job working on AI-powered smart kiosks. I mean, this was back in 2017 when this happened. So I've been working with AI since 2017 and trying to tell people since then, hey, this is coming, and it's coming in a big way. You need to be ready for it. You need to protect yourself. And of course, I got laughed at and told I didn't know what I was talking about, and well, here we are now. But anyways, back in 2020, I decided to start getting serious about game development and move out of being a hobbyist and try to actually make some game products that are worth being bought and played. Now, when I started Frontiers Reach 1 back in 2020, I tried to basically put a team together and using a revenue share model for getting everyone paid. Um, However, that team got hyper focused on just trying to make money, and they put a lot of pressure on me to run a Kickstarter, and then I finally agreed to it. And when it came time to actually produce the assets to just make the Kickstarter page and get things running in the right direction, they couldn't hack it. And so I dissolved the team and rebooted the project, and that's where Frontiers Reach 1 today comes from. It comes from that reboot. The initial concept was really just to make a small game, kind of like Rogue Squadron. But after I rebooted the project, I basically said, okay, well, I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to make the kind of intricate sort of space flight combat game that I really want to play, even if nobody else buys it. So, yeah. Now, before I started working on Frontiers Reach 1, one of the things that I had in mind was a concept I've had in my head since 2015. Back in 2015, I had been playing a lot of Destiny, dabbled with a little bit of a Warframe, and I couldn't help but think to myself, man, this would be really great if you could have a larger map with a lot more intricacy and some actual like factional like warfare, like because they had a little bit of that going on, but it was like very very isolated areas where they would have the faction warfare going on. I thought to myself, man, this would be really great, and maybe even take a slightly different spin on it, because Destiny was doing a lot of things that were really cool. But I was also thinking back to my experiences in the United States military, where when I was in Iraq, there was like this weird environment where mercenaries from all over the world and professional soldiers from different nations, they'd all come to this one country to basically make war and get paid for it. And I thought back to the game Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. I was thinking, man, what if you had like mercenaries out on the edge of space, and like there's this alien race that tries to like invade, and you have to move around in all these vehicles because the environment's just so large and too dangerous to just like walk around on foot all the time. So I've had this concept in my head since 2015, and when 2020 came around, my first instinct was, well, the project I want to make is too big to do right now. So the first thing I need to do is to take on a smaller project that's going to help get me to where I want to go. That was Frontiers Reach 1, which I originally was calling Pirates of Frontiers Reach, because I was going to do Pirates and then Mercenaries and then something else afterwards. So Frontiers Reach 1 is basically in a spot where I would say it's in curation mode. I do have additional content coming, but Frontiers Reach 2 is the next big project. Now I have another smaller one called Battlespace. That's intended to be like a companion to the first game. That's coming out eventually. I don't know when exactly. May 1st is the current date. That might get pushed back again because I'm kind of trying to coordinate things with my publisher and do things right this time around. So we'll see. With that said, Frontiers Reach 2 is the next big one. And I've worked on jobs for NASA, the United States Air Force, New Media, or I worked at a company called New Media at one point. I worked on projects for hospitals, and the entire time I've had Frontiers Reach in the back of my head. And none of those jobs will compare to the size of this project, period. I mean, this project is so big I had to take on a smaller project that was 4.5 years long. So this is a big one. It's going to be big. And if you want any idea of just how big it's going to be, then I would highly suggest checking out the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, check it out, and come along for the ride. Any support you're willing to pitch in with, I'm happy to accept. I'm very thankful to accept. But we're gonna do this, even if it takes me like 10 years. It's already taken me almost 5 years to get to this point. But yeah, we're gonna do this. Oh, I think I'm gonna cut it here. That's my intro. Almost 11 minutes of intro, a little more. Yeah. Somebody who doesn't like talking about themselves went on for 11 minutes. Anyways, till next time, take care.